Today we're going to be learning a couple of fundamental guitar techniques. I'm going to go over sliding, I'm going to go over hammer-ons, I'm going to go over pull-offs, and I'm also going to go over bending. And I'm going to give you a few ways to practice each one of those as well. So the trick with sliding is you basically start on whatever fret that you're starting on, and then you want to apply equal pressure to the string as you move your hand up so that you don't release the string from being fretted. And you don't want to grip too hard or that adds tension on your hand or you can mess up the note, but basically you just want to grip just hard enough that you fret the note, and then as you slide, you don't disrupt the vibration. So I'm going to be on the 5th fret on the 3rd string, and then I'm going to slide up to 7. Now, it doesn't take very much pressure. I can actually take my thumb off the back of the guitar and still do this properly. It's almost just the weight of your hand or your arm hanging on the neck that is enough pressure to fret it. And I feel like that's one of the big tricks with getting sliding correctly is you don't want to push too hard. You just want to have nice constant pressure, and you can practice by doing longer slides. Like I think a really good one is to go to do an octave slide. So starting on the 5th fret and sliding up to the 17th fret. And that'll make it so that if you can carry the note all the way up a full octave and back down, then you know that you are definitely applying constant pressure and you're not losing the note at anywhere that you slide. And you'll want to practice it with each finger on each string just so that under pretty much any condition, you'll still be able to do your sliding technique and you won't have any issues with it. So that's sliding. The next one that we're going to talk about is hammer-ons. And the trick with hammer-ons, I'm going to try to show it in front of the camera real quick, is you want your finger to be relaxed, but you also want to throw it down a little bit like a hammer. You just want to kind of throw it down very relaxed. You can kind of see how my finger wiggles a little at the end because it's very relaxed. And you want it to strike the string to keep it vibrating. The trick with this is really just about the accuracy of hitting the string in the right spot so that you're not touching or grazing any of the other strings. You're only hitting the string that you want to, and you're hitting it with just enough force to keep that note vibrating and ringing out. And a good way to practice this is kind of doing hammer-ons from nowhere, which is basically where you start with a no note, like I have my finger right here, but I'm not playing anything. And then I hammer on with my ring finger on the 7th fret without plucking or anything, and that will start the note. And that's a good way of developing that technique, just to kind of see how much force you should be striking with. And you should do that again with each one of your fingers on each one of the strings, just practicing striking it with enough force to really get that note to ring out without affecting any of the other strings. And you can practice it doing, multiple in a row, like chromatically like this, just to practice with all 4 fingers. And you can also practice having no fingers on the strings, and you strike the string from nowhere, like with the pointer finger like this. This is all just to kind of get you comfortable with how much force and pressure you're supposed to strike the string with when you're doing a hammer-on. Now, I like to think of it as a hammer-on's brother is the pull-off. And the trick with the pull-off, I find, is, I'm going to show it again here, is instead of just lifting the string or lifting your finger straight up, which you can do if the string is vibrating strongly, I actually like to pull off at a slight angle like that, so that I actually pluck the string ever so slightly as I pull off. And in doing that, if you're doing trills or you want to do a longer legato passage, you don't really have to worry about making sure the string is vibrating. When you do your pull off, you will keep the string vibrating. So I'm going to demonstrate again. I'm going to go starting on the 7th fret, and I'm going to do a pull off to the 5th. And you can, again, it's a little on this angle, you can see that I'm actually pulling off into the side of the guitar. Now, you do need to practice this again on each string, and it's more important with this hammer-on because you want to get the angle so that when you're doing the pull-offs, you are plucking the string, but you're not touching any adjacent strings. And you should be able to alternate back and forth between a hammer-on and a pull-off without plucking and keep that note going. That's another way to keep practicing that. And once you get the technique down, you should be able to keep that going as long as you want that to keep going. Because when you strike the string, it should add a little bit of force and keep it vibrating. And when you pull off, you should be gently plucking the string, and that should be adding a little bit of force to the string, and it'll keep it vibrating as well. So you should be able to keep that going indefinitely if you keep doing hammer-ons and pull-offs. Now, bending is relatively straightforward. You want to be grabbing the string, and you want to be pushing it across the surface of the frets, definitely horizontally. You don't want to be pushing down into the fingerboard or the frets or anything like that. You just want to be pushing across. On the upper 3 strings, I push towards myself like this. And then on the lower 3 strings, I pull away from myself like this. And the reason that I do that is because when you're up on this, the highest string, there's no space to go the other direction. So you really have to you have to push towards yourself. And when you're on the lower string, you can't go towards yourself. You have to pull in the other direction. And I just kind of find, since there's 3 strings on the top, 3 strings on the bottom, it was just a natural habit to form of bending towards myself on the upper 3 strings and pulling away from myself on the lower 3 strings. So that's which direction that I bend in. And then, as I mentioned, you want to go across the top of the string. So I'm actually, even though it looks like I'm gripping the guitar, I'm really just applying force towards myself. Just pushing towards myself, and then again, when I'm going the other direction, I'm pulling away from myself. So the problem with bending is, normally when we play guitar, we fret something, and that stops the string to a given length, and that makes it vibrate at a given pitch. So when the shorter the string becomes, the higher frequency that it vibrates at. Now, when we bend a string, we increase the tension on the string, and that actually increases the pitch. So the only downside of this is that since we're manually increasing the tension to increase the pitch, we can actually land in between good notes. So that's just something where you have to train your ears a little bit to make sure that you're landing on the right note. And one of the things that I do to kind of help develop this muscle memory in my hands and make sure I know what it sounds like is I'll go up to, say, on the 15th fret on the 2nd string of the B string, and I'll play the 12th fret on the E string. And so this one is E, and this one I'm playing a D right here. And then what I do is I pluck both notes and I try to bend the D up to match the E. And once you get that in tune, you know that you're bending up a whole step. And you can do a similar thing by going down a next string, but because the interval's different, you would do the 14th fret instead of the 15th fret. So this would be an A, and you bend up to match the B. And you can do that with any interval that you want to train with. I've done it with the whole steps a lot just because I do a lot of whole step bending, but you can also practice by bending up a half step by finding, say you go up to the 19th fret, and then we have at the 15th fret here, we bend up a half step. And these are just good ways of developing the muscle memory to tell you how much you need to bend the string to get it to go up a whole step or a half step. And then once you've got that down, then you're able to more fluidly do your bends and stuff. And instead of having to think about it or worry about the right pitch, you'll pretty much instinctively bend right about the right amount to hit the note that you want to, just because your fingers are used to bending that amount. And the cool thing is, if I bend one whole step up here, but then I tap up here, that note that I just tapped is actually a whole step up too. And when I debend, then it goes down a whole step. So no matter where you are, the amount that you need to bend is roughly the same, because you're basically just moving the string to add tension to it. And that's how bending works. So that was bending. And then we also covered slides, hammer-ons, and pull-offs. And those techniques I feel like are very fundamental to guitar, especially when you can start combining them, because that's really how you start to develop your own guitar playing style. Now, if you have any questions about what I talked about today, please just leave a comment. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If not, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.